Hello, and welcome to Top 10 Features of PathWave ADS 2021. In this video series, we are looking at all the new and great enhancements done in the latest ADS release. This video is on VIA Designer Enhancements. There are plenty of new improvements in the VIA Designer utility in ADS. Now you can get results up to very high frequency due to the port accuracy improvements done, which is well beyond 30 gigahertz range. You could create VIA arrays for creating parallel net routing. We now support Teardrop, conical lasered VIAs for micro VIA kind of applications. Also for higher frequency concepts such as diving board is now supported. At the end of the VIA designer execution, you can create a very accurate parameterized EM model, which then can be used in your pre-layout simulation environment for end-to-end channel simulation analysis. To set the perspective, let me first show you. Here is the typical end-to-end channel response. And I do have two instances created out of VIA Designer. And right now, they are not parametric models. That means I haven't assigned any variables to it. But in case you decide to do a parametric VIA modeling in VIA Designer, you will have those parameters along with these components for you to change. And after you perform a channel simulation with crosstalk or whatever condition you set with your own equalization AMI model, you can look at the overall channel behavior with the confidence that the VIA design is accurately capturing the VIA distortions, VIA to VIA coupling, and so on. So this allows designers to do pre-layout channel analysis with much higher degree of confidence. Now let's take a look at the VIA designer interface and where and how to use those capability. So the path to VIA designer is pretty simple. Once you are in the stack up editor window, you can click on this icon here to start VIA designer interface or go to tools VIA designer. Once you are in VIA designer interface, you can set the layers as per signal or plane rule as per your stack up, and accordingly this GUI will start changing. The good thing about ADS VIA designer is when you have these GUI driven models here. So by changing the parameters here, you can see the GUI starts changing. So virtually you don't need to do any GUI based editing or complex 3D editing to create your VIA models. Now, once you define your substrate, you can go to VIA tab, define the micro VIA configuration if you want to add it on the top side or on the bottom side. And then depending upon the amount of micro VIAs you need to add, you can keep clicking on this button and you can see you can add more and more micro VIAs. Now to set this orientation correctly, let me first go to feed and change this orientation to 0 degree and 180 degrees so that we can see the transition going in and coming out properly. Now let's come back to the barrel. That's where we were assigning micro VIA. So here you can see currently default both micro VIAs are on the same layer. And that's the reason because we set it that way. So the first micro VIA is going to be a notch top. The second micro VIA I would like to be in the ground plane. And now you can see you have the micro VIA already placed. Now the drill barrel will start from the third layer, which is signal 1 layer in my case. So you can see top, GND1 and SIG1. And once you start making those changes, you can see the geometry gets modified. So it's very simple to create micro VIAs here. Now, by default, the micro VIA is of cylindrical type, as you can notice in this case. However, by going to micro VIA tab here, you can completely decide the way you want the micro VIA to be, the connection, the length of the micro VIA segment, and so on. Now, you can see it just now created a conical micro VIA for application. And you can change this connection length depending upon your requirement. For example, if I change it to 20, you can see the micro VIA length get changed, and also rest of the plenty of options for you to play around. Now in terms of pad stack, you can also define a differential VIA. For example, with a single click now you have a differential VIA configuration. You can merge anti-pad and then those anti-pads will be merged and so on. So all those nice features are pretty much there for you to easily come up with your own VIA design. Now, this was about micro VIA. Now, let me quickly talk about something called as VIA array. Now here I have a single VIA, whether it is single-ended or differential, it's your choice. Let's say if I have a differential VIA, for example, now I will have a parallel traces to route and I would like a VIA array to be created. So using the VIA array tab, I can come up with the desired number of sections, let's say 2 VIAs, 3 VIA array and all that. So again, the attributes of this VIA array can be controlled. You can play with the spacing. You can see X is 0. That means all of them are in the same X orientation. But if you want to create certain offset, let's say 50 mil, you can specify that parameter. And now these VIAs will have offset in the X axis. And here, if I look from the top Z direction, you can see the offset created in the X axis. Similarly, you can play with these values and even you can parameterize how you want the ground stitching VIAs to appear. That can be also controlled. You can have a single line of ground stitching VIAs, or you can activate it only for one of the instances. Like here, for example, I would like ground stitching VIAs only for the central piece, so I can activate it for instance 2 and things like that. So complete flexibility. I will leave you to play with more options here once you get hand of the latest ADS release. Now, all the things or all the parameters, as you know already, if you have used VIA Designer, can be parameterized. For example, you can attach a variable here, and under the variable definition window, you can perform a sweep analysis so that after your simulation, if you decide to create a cell out of it, you will have the full parametric 3D EM model. And VIA Designer has a full 3D FEM simulator inside, which is used to perform the simulation. So you get a very high accuracy result here. So in my case, I already have a VIA Designer file, which I just created for 3 VIA arrays, and these are differential VIAs. And you can see I already perform a simulation for a complex geometry such as this with multiple ground plane. It only took 10 minutes on my laptop, and once simulation is finished, I can look at the S parameter response for this VIA design, or I can activate the TDR response and look at the TDR plot for my VIA design. And once I'm satisfied, I would like to use this VIA for my pre-layout end-to-end channel design. I can just click this icon, export it as a cell. And once I have it as a cell, it will appear in the ADS project workspace. And here you can see I have an EM model and a symbol associated with it. And this is what I was using in my channel simulation schematic to perform end-to-end design. So hope you like the new enhancements done in VIA Designer and would like to give it a try for your own design and move to ADS 2021 for better user experience. Thanks a lot for watching this tutorial. See you in the next video.